And we're live. Today we're talking about proximity. And I wanted to look up the word proximity just to get the perfect definition because we're going to be applying it very specifically to business. But in general, proximity is defined as the state or condition of being near or close. And today my guest is Melanie Benson. We met in 2005. And in that time, she has become quite the podcasting expert, among many other things. So I'm going to let Melanie give you her 30,000-foot bio so you can learn who she is, too, if you're not familiar with her. Melanie?
Thank you. How fun that we're doing this together and talking about proximity since we've been in proximity for, 21 years now?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm Melanie Benson. In my circles, I'm known as an authority amplifier. And my specialty is I help thought leaders, coaches, consultants, people who have some kind of expertise stop being the best kept secret to their clients and in their industry and really become an unignorable leader. And I kind of consider leadership as being you're owning a conversation that's moving the needle, transforming lives, and making a great impact in your client base. And part of how I do that is through a couple of key programs I have called Authority Accelerator and Rising Tide Collective, which is all about collaboration. But I also love collaboration so much. I have my podcast, which is Amplify Your Success. And now I have my Growth Fuel channel here, which I've just freaking loving because of the collaborative potential and the depth and the connections that are emerging here. As a matter of fact, I see some of the people I've been connecting with lately here just joining us, Denise, which is really fun. So
That's
glad
cool.
You guys are here.
Well, if you're joining us, please give Melanie a heart because she deserves it. So you were kind of downplayed or, didn't quite go to level with your podcasting success because that's like pretty huge. What is it, like the top 1% or something of all podcasts?
Well, if we use the listen notes score, it's top 1%. I've been podcasting for over 10 years now, which kind of was mind blowing. You were on my very first podcast, Denise, way back in the day when I had a video podcast before people liked watching video podcasts.
Yeah, geez.
And we're about ready to hit the 500th episode, which I've got something really fun lining up for. But yeah, it's I feel like one of the things that has become, let's just say it's a core competency, is because it meets the way my brain understands how people receive a message and what lights them up, right? And there's this intersection between what lights people up as a guest and what lights people up when they're listening. So I've really found both sides of the microphone to be a powerful way to amplify the reach of your message, to become known for the work that you do, and to A, build community, and B, attract the clients when they're finally ready to do the kind of work that you do.
I think that podcasting with the video side of video on it, which everybody seems to be doing now, is probably one of the most powerful ways to create those connections because you've got it all, audio and video. So there's like the true self is there, just everything, the language, the tonality, the how you smile or don't smile, so you're definitely a model to follow in that regard. But let's talk about proximity.
Can I say one more thing before we move off of that?
Yeah.
And there's a great bridge between podcast and proximity. And I heard somebody talking about this and I was like, yeah, it's so true. They were interviewing me on why I podcast and they asked me like how proximity is carried through in podcasting. And I actually did a whole episode in the Growth Fuel channel about it this week, because what we forget sometimes is the podcast is creating a form of proximity. Whether we're doing it here on Substack or you're old school and it's audio only, we're giving people a way to access us and experience us, and we're nurturing those relationships. But our listeners oftentimes feel like they're in proximity with us.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a really nice bridge into this conversation
you're in
today.
Their ear and they see your face, and people want to see people, right? That's how we connect. I mean, I feel like I'm connected to you right now, even though I don't know, what are we, 25 miles apart? We're both in the Los Angeles
Somewhat like that.
area. So maybe it's 40
And we
miles.
see each other like once a decade or something.
Yeah, usually I'm talking to people on the other side of the country or the world. So you talk about proximity as a faster path to clients and credibility and growth. So let's look at what that means. Tell me what it means in the business context. How does that show up?
Well, I'm going to start with a little bit of my backstory, but then I want to really take us into what I see emerging right now in what is called this new era of business. And if I go back to the beginning, you were talking about 2005 when we first met. Well, let's go back even further. How I even got on that stage was the power of proximity in action. I found that being in rooms where people were doing similar things and were building an audience of similar clients was like speeding my path. Like it opened doors that would have been locked for me for a long time. It would have taken me a lot of time, money, and energy to open on my own. But I was getting those doors opened at an accelerated pace to speak, referrals. Back then we had teleseminars, right? We didn't have podcasting. So we were doing these audio calls, magazine interviews. It got me on media and stages all over the world. And what that really means is that when you're in proximity, people get to know you at a accelerated pace than if you're just trying to build a relationship over a social media platform, or maybe they vaguely heard about you in other circles, but they haven't actually had a connection with you. Or maybe they have just been listening to your podcast or they caught you as a guest somewhere else, but there's not this more interconnected, ongoing access. And that proximity is how people say, oh, I know Melanie, I know Denise, they'd be perfect for this. Or I have a client who's looking for ABC service and I'm going to refer them to somebody that I already have that know, like, and trust factor. If I go back to the beginning, Denise, those 5 people that I was in this mastermind with, which is where the proximity kind of clues started dropping in for me, was they didn't know me from anybody else until we started sharing space. And I bonded with them in a way they were like, oh my gosh, your brilliance is so clear now. But if they would never have got that if they were just reading my emails, or we didn't even have social media then, bumping into me in a random way. So that's where this idea of proximity really surfaced for me. And those proximity relationships, those people that I connect with, when they have the know, like, and trust factor, and they recognize my expertise and they recognize your expertise, that is what's opening the doors to collaborations that fuel your growth over and over and over again. I have some of the same people I've been collaborating with for 25, 26 years, still coming back and collaborating.
Yeah. I hear you. That's a great story, though, too, and it also it brings to mind what, is a buzzword, has been for a little while, is community, right? Building communities. And so a mastermind group is a community of people. Maybe it's 5 people, maybe it's 20, or, maybe it's a Substack group, or, your paid subscribers on Substack, because I know a lot of people who are referring their Substack subscribers as a community, and they're, treating them as community members versus like, oh, they're just paying me to, write something, right? So, So you talked a little bit about, that there's a different business environment now. So can you elaborate on that, please?
Well, you mentioned, yes, of course. You mentioned earlier that I have been really kind of building my strengths, becoming well known in the podcasting side of things. And one of the things we've done for my clients for many years in my Authority Accelerator is help them get placed on other people's podcasts. Now, luckily, I have such a rich connection and network base that oftentimes I could just tap into that. But we have a team of people that also do outreach and pitch to other people's podcasts. And we started to notice something about 2 years ago. The tides were changing, and where people were welcoming pitches, they were ignoring them or they were annoyed by them. And I started to realize, because then I was starting to hear the hubbub between my podcasting peers, because I have relationships with some of the top podcasters, and they're like, I'm so over all the pitches. I don't want to be pitched anymore. These people aren't even a good fit, right? And so there became this noise and this resistance to something that had worked for so long. And when I unpacked that, what I realized was the people who were landing the best podcasts were landing it through the power of proximity. They were in connection with people. We could kind of bypass that cold pitch, if you will, and say, hey, I know someone who'd be a great podcast. They could make a connection. They could make an introduction. And that was welcomed. And my clients were getting on those podcasts. But if we were doing cold pitches, it would take multiple pitches and a lot of warming up. And we have a little strategy we use to build some rapport and some connection before we start pitching people. But it made me realize that visibility is radically changing. We have a community, a culture that has been oversaturated with knowledge, right? Knowledge has just been dropped on us over and over and over again. Our feeds are full of information. And AI is now, we were talking about this in the green room, it's creating a whole nother layer of complexity of, can I trust that? Is it true? Is it that person's voice? Is there actual, wisdom and expertise that's representing the person I'm hearing from? And there's even AI podcasts now, Denise, which I know you know, which we're like, really? Like, how does that even work?
Yeah.
But when you're in proximity, when you have really been nurturing connection and relationships, we can kind of bypass a lot of where that stuckness occurs, where things get stalled out from the, I don't know this person. How do I know they're going to actually show up and be a good guest? Here's what I've learned about podcast hosts. We have spent decades, if not years or months, cultivating trust and rapport with our audiences. We're not going to bring some rando onto our podcast if we don't know that we can trust them and bring massive value into the conversation. Because we don't want to like have people just tapping into our audience and bailing. We want people who can be an extension of us, right? So that's a little bit of what I started to see unfolding in this new era, is like what used to work isn't working where we're going next. Depth, trust, authenticity, real connection, I think is what people are craving. And community, proximity is what's kind of rising to the surface as a way we can facilitate that.
I see that, beyond podcasting too, like with all social media, is you have to be so careful about who you're interacting with now, because are they even a real person, and I'm hearing a lot of, trust. Are you real? Can I trust you? Do I like you? And so I think that is like extending even further out than it has been for the last couple of years because of AI, definitely because of AI. And I mean, I even question now, like, is that an AI picture? Is that an AI? It's like, oh my God, it's getting so good, like the videos and stuff. So having a real life person to connect with that people know is a real life person. And I think that's why being on, doing the video podcasts are also so important, because voices can be cloned now. And it's very clear to me that you are not cloned at this moment, So I trust.
Well, it would be very hard for us to have an interaction, right? I think that's the dead giveaway. It's like, we can even create AI videos where it's hard to detect, is it real? But it's very hard to fake a conversation.
Yeah, very hard. And that makes them even more important too. So, and to have them in public like this, because I don't do a lot of live video or even recorded video, except for my, members of the AI Success Club and for clients. But I realize that, I have to show my face a lot more, hear my voice, hear what I have to say. And that's why I wanted you to be here with me, because you're the expert. Um, how does how does a business person become strategic about this? That's, you talk about having people who can pitch and refer and that sort of thing. But, for like, if I came to you, and said, okay, I gotta do this proximity thing better because I'm an introvert, proximity isn't always comfortable for me, but, what do I do?
That's a great question. And I'm just kind of curious if there's anybody else here who leans into that introversion side where maybe kind of initiating collaborations and getting into networking conversations might feel a little sticky for them. Like, drop a little chat.
Yeah.
Let us know that you find yourself in that space too. It's funny, I bridge between being an extrovert and introvert. So it helps me to have like a framework of how to approach something. And what I think, first of all, has to happen is that you have to decide that this is going to become a part of your strategy. This is going to become a part of the work that you're going to do to not just like get in front of new audiences, but like when you're in proximity to the right people, this is joy. Like, you're actually going to get infused with a spark. You're going to be lifted up. I mean, that's why I call my community Rising Tide Collective, because it is about lifting each other up, right? And so I think when you decide to be strategically collaborating, I like to call it, or intentionally collaborating, you first of all have to decide this is going to get my attention. Because what do we know? What we focus on expands. If you're not focused on this, it's going to sit on the back burner like a big fat should. And you're going to be like, wait, I was supposed to reach out and meet some people. I didn't do that. This week on Growth Fuel, this is one of those strategies. Busted. Sorry, didn't mean to call you out like that. But
it's okay.
Yes,
I can deal with it.
Yes. Well, and by the way, this is what half the people I talk to say is like, oh, I know I should be doing this, but I'm not. And before I talk about how to get intentional, let's talk about the reasons why we're not.
Okay.
I'm really busy with everything else I'm doing. And I want to kind of challenge you, if this is where you lie, ask yourself, are you busy with things that are actually producing that exponential compounding effect to grow your reach? And if yes, great, then you're doing the right things. So you're too busy. You don't know how. We're going to cover that one in a second.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who to approach. Again, there's a way to navigate that. Or I've done this before and I got burned.
Yeah, I can relate to all of those.
Yeah. And I just want to acknowledge that I've been burned a bazillion times. I've been doing this for, 25 of my 26 years. We're not getting out of being burned, but we're also not getting out of being burned running a business in general.
Right.
So we just have to pick our hard. Let's do the hard things. Let's choose to do the things that grow us and just get better at them. And that means getting better at having the right conversations, the right boundaries, and the right standards so that you're moving things forward that feel expansive and they're actually fueling your business. Now, how do we open these conversations up? How do we start? I like to think of it as, let's say you go to a party and you're in a room of people you've never met before and you're feeling really awkward, but you need to like not stand against the wall and just, drink your drink. You need to actually make some connections. I'm going to look for the person who has a energy that feels approachable. And I'm going to approach them with something really low key, like, hey, how do you know whoever the host is? Or I'm going to open up a conversation that feels kind of minimally scary. Now, if we approach this in the entrepreneurial world, maybe this is, we know somebody in common. So I might say, hey, like I know you, I see so-and-so, and you guys just did something together. How do you know them? Or I might open it up with I see you're doing some collaborations. I'd love to explore it if that's something you're open to, right? So start with something that might have a low risk but high value opening. Now, if you're braver and you're really excited to collaborate, you might go and you have some valuable collaboration assets. We can talk about that if you want, if we have time. But that's where you say something like, hey, I am looking to do some collaborations live on my Substack. And I noticed we have some similar vibe. We have some similar pillars. We have some similar values. And I think we share an audience. Would you be open to exploring what that could look like? Or would you be up for, doing that someday? Just make the ask. What's the worst that happens? They say no.
Yeah, it's interesting you picked that because there are some people that, I follow, I'm really impressed by, and I keep thinking, oh, I should do a live with them. I should invite them to speak to my audience. And have I? No, I went with the person that I've known for 21 years. And you reached out first.
Yes. Well, and so I believe that there are different collaboration styles. I use a tool called Human Design and a lot of the strategy development I do with my clients. And part of it is recognizing what your collaboration style is and what can you lean on that takes the scary down, but brings the opportunity to the forefront. And I think when we kind of latch on to that, what is it that I have valuable? Last week, I hosted a Growth Fuel Live session here on Substack with one of the top Substack creators in our market. And I was a little nervous to reach out to him, but I've done like 400, 500, 600 interviews over the last 20 years. So I'm like, okay, I got some chops here.
Yeah.
But I went in with something that I felt like, how would they say no? So I said, yeah, I'm building my Substack. I'd love to interview you. I know there's a lot of people in my community that are really curious about Substack, and I'll even re-air it on my top 1% podcast. Massive win.
Yeah.
So of course they said yes. They're like, yeah, we'd be honored. We'd love to. But I've had people say no. And I think that the key is don't take it personally.
Yeah.
But let's take a step back for a minute, Denise, because I think there's one thing that's really important. You have to get really clear. What do you want from collaboration? What do you want when you're in proximity with other people? What is the door you want to open? Do you want more clients? Do you want more guests for your show? Do you want to grow your Substack or some other platform that you're building? What is the outcome you're looking for? That becomes your collaboration compass. Because if you don't know what that is, then you're kind of throwing, darts at a wall, hoping something sticks versus making really intentional asks and not taking it personally if somebody's a no. I just got invited to a collaboration. There, one of the styles of collaboration is doing like bundle and toolkit giveaways, right? Mm-hmm. And somebody who I really like asked me and I turned it down because it's not in my collaboration compass right now. It doesn't move the needle for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when we know what we're focused on, it's easier to discern. What do I say yes to? What do I say no to? I feel like I just went through a whole bunch of different possibilities. And let me see where we want to go next to make sure we're really grounding this.
Well, I think this has been very
I can talk
valuable.
about collaboration all day.
No, this is very valuable. And I didn't mean to like insert myself as like, okay, I'm going to like have Melanie coach me today. But I know there are other people who feel the way I do too. So, I can be the stand-in. But I think it's probably one of the things that you mentioned as being what gets in the way is knowing how to decide like who makes a good partner. I mean, you can have your compass, but the compass is a direction, and I don't know what's the person in your.
Well, and then we filter, right? Okay. And so I like to think of the best collaboration partners that are aligned. And so there's the kind of the easy first level, and then there's the more in-depth. And this is something that's come up a lot with people in one of my groups, because when you start collaborating, you start quickly realizing, oh, not everybody collaborates well. Okay, I think I need to ask better questions. So those are the tools that I think help when you go deeper into collaboration. But in the beginning, I think there's 3 really, really important questions. One is, do we share an audience? So do we both speak to people who need and want what we both do? because it doesn't really make a lot of sense to collaborate unless you're really obsessed with a topic and they're covering a topic and you're like, I don't really care about attracting people. I just want to talk about this topic anywhere, any day, every way I can. And I actually have a client who her audience really is just basically everybody. So, audience alignment kind of goes out the window with her a little bit because she's like, I can literally talk about this with anybody. But I think for most of us, we want our visibility time, our collaborations to deliver clients and more opportunities. We need to look at alignment. And there's a lot of layers to alignment, but for the sake of the time we have today, that's the big one, audience alignment.
An example. Yeah.
What?
Just an example of alignment.
An example.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I think the second level is you need to make sure that you have offer synergy rather than offer competitiveness. There are ways to compete with the same offer and collaborate, but that's kind of beyond, what we could get into today, because I think it's a delicate dance. But if you really are in alignment with your audience, and you might have some, like we both talk about visibility, but we do it in such different ways. Exactly. We really support each other's work very well. Mm-hmm. And so that would be offer synergy. Whereas if somebody else was an visibility strategist the way I am, and they're using Substack and podcasts and all the thought leadership platforms the way I do, it wouldn't really feel as expansive. And I think especially when you're starting, you want it to feel expansive. So I'm looking for offer synergy. And then the third piece is, do they know how to collaborate? Is it part of their values as well? If not, what you find is they kind of like do the bare minimum. And maybe somebody here has had this happen to them where you're like, oh yeah, let's do this thing together. There's only one of you promoting. Or they say they're going to do it and they don't ever make their mail dates. They don't do any promotion. Right. And what that does is that really just starts to feel heavy and, people build resentment. And so I like to partner with people that they've kind of established collaboration as part of the model they do, rather than me trying to convince them to collaborate. Mm-hmm. And, I might be an inspiration for them, but I don't want to drag them with me.
Right. How do you filter for that? Like, especially if it's not somebody that you've known, for years. It's somebody, maybe somebody said, oh, this person would be a great collaboration partner for you. How do you then do research to see if they've been doing collaboration, or interview them, or everything?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it depends on the level of the collaboration. So let me give you an example of what we do for my podcast. As you could probably imagine, being as many years in, hitting in that top 1%, having 500 episodes going live, we get a lot of pitches. And so we first of all, we asked people to apply. So I had a huge kind of celebrity name person pitch to be on my show a couple weeks ago. And I was really clear with them. And I said, I'm happy to do an interview. However, our requirement is the episode is shared to your audience. How would you like to go about doing that? Nothing. No response. Crickets. I'm like, okay. So what you really wanted is you just wanted access to my audience. This wasn't a collaboration. So there's ways to vet and or kind of discover on the sleuthing side. You look at how do they showcase where they've been featured. You can look at their different social platforms and see, do they actually ever share in their main grid or in their feed or in stories in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's what's working for me right now. We do make people apply. I think on another level is, and not everybody's willing to do this, which that in itself might be a red flag, is have a conversation.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of let's talk about the podcast guesting side. A lot of podcast guests, when they pitch to be on a show, they're actually kind of offended when somebody says like, well, come, let's have a quick chat to get to know each other first. And I'm like, well, then you just want something from them. You don't actually want to collaborate.
Right.
Because podcast guesting, here's a little secret that a lot of people don't know. The podcast interview is the vetting process for other collaborations.
Oh,
It's
makes
like
sense.
going on the first coffee date. Let's get together and let's see how this goes. Are you on time? Do you show up? Do we have a conversation, or do you dominate and tell me everything about your life without asking me anything, right? So I've been on a date a really long time, but I seem to remember that.
But still, those things stand out.
Yes. But I mean, these are the things that a podcast host is exploring if they are a active collaborator. I have had first podcast interviews turn into 5, 6, 7, 8 years of ongoing invitations to collaborate. Because when I say yes to a podcast interview, I'm all in on making that host, that show and my episode shine across all of my platforms. Unless it's just a horrible episode, which doesn't happen very often. Yeah. And I think a lot of people miss that.
That really resonates with me because I've, been a podcast guest, and, usually I'm invited to. I don't do a lot of pitching. And it's, when somebody says, let's have a quick chat beforehand, I'm like, okay, I think that's good too, because you can also assess it. Both people can assess the energy, right? Is there something compatible there that is just energetic? Because you can't, mm-hmm. That'll pretty much show up fast. So, okay, back to people who haven't done many partnerships, collaborations. And they're listening to you and going, I want to try that. I want what Melanie has. So how do I get started?
Well, first of all, I'll just give a little plug for the Growth Fuel channel, because that's what I teach there. So if you're like, I really want to do this and I'd like a little extra support, I'll just kind of put a little shameless plug in there for that, because there are some things to learn and discover about your business in your way. But let me give you a couple things that I think would be really healthy places to start. First of all, again, get really clear, like, who's a good collaboration partner? Like, what are those factors we talked about before? Just get clear what those are. And then secondly, I want you to think about how you're going to give to them. So do you have an audience that you can get your partner in front of? Like, are you going to give them visibility to their offer? Right. Do you have an event that you're hosting that you might give visibility to them? And then beyond, like, hey, this partner's going to send me all this traffic for my event, you actually have to give them exposure that's really meaningful and valuable for them. You need to think about, like, how do we make this a win-win-win? Now, you notice there's a third win in there. So it's a win for you, the host. You're moving towards your collaboration compass point. You know what you need and want, and you're going to make decisions to move you towards that. They're getting a win. They're getting some of their collaboration and visibility and hopefully lead generation needs met. Yeah. But you also have to make it a win for the people that are receiving the collaboration. Right? Like value, what is unique and something they can apply, right? Like here's one of I might be a little bit on my soapbox on this one, but we've watched for a decade or longer visibility opportunities called virtual summits. So if you're unfamiliar with that term, a virtual summit is a gathering of 10 or more speakers who come together and share their expertise, and everybody promotes it, and the audience consumes those different sessions, however they're being facilitated. Well, what we found over the last couple of years, and I actually did a whole episode of this on Amplify Your Success about 4 weeks ago, is this. Now what's happening is people don't want to listen to these pre-recorded summits. They aren't necessarily getting the win in the audience because it's just more information. And we talked about that earlier. People don't really need more information. They want transformation. And so the summits are designed for the hosts to build their list, not necessarily for the audience to get a transformation, just to get more information. And the people who are contributing their time, their talent, their knowledge, their wisdom aren't necessarily seeing any results because the audience doesn't want to listen and they're not being organized in a way that makes things come to life for them. So it's dying on the vine. But, and I'm seeing some hearts on that one. But what's happening is
there, totally there. That's why.
Right? Who's been in a speaker on a virtual summit or attended a virtual summit where you're like, this is not helping me.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things I think is emerging in the new era is how do we host events where the win-win-win, the host is winning because they're building their list, they're attracting more clients. The speakers are winning because they're getting valuable exposure. When I host my Visibility Velocity event, my speakers get massive airtime live. Everybody's live. Everybody gets great promotion. And I make sure my audience has multiple ways for their content and their gift to be received and consumed. So I don't do it just to grow my list. I grow it to actually move the needle. So everybody's getting a win. And my audience, I design the curriculum so they leave with real transformation. That's what is win-win-win. I'm not trying to like tout me as there's plenty of examples of people that do this, but what we need is for people to recognize if we want to keep building trust and keep having resonance and credibility and nurture people to maybe move into our audience and maybe someday want to buy from us, we have to change the tune of how we are being visible. So that it's not just more information.
Yeah.
It's actually transformation.
Yeah. I've pretty much been declining every summit that I'm invited to precisely for all those reasons that you just laid out. I was like, why am I going to all this work and I'm not getting any, like nothing out of it, you know? So I'm with you there. I love the win-win-win. That I think is so important on so many levels. So that's amazing. All right. Last question. I want to respect your time. Okay. And I think I told you it would be like 20 minutes. So I'm already over time.
Hey, I'm all in. I love this conversation. Okay. We'll keep going. If you guys have questions, drop them in. Like I'm here for you right now.
Okay, so maybe this is the last question, but
okay.
You know, the people I work with, the people you work with that I hear you working with, and a lot of the people I know in online that I've known for 25 or more years. We know a lot of people. We have had a lot of clients. We've had a lot of some collaborations that work, some that don't work. Is there somewhere in our business that we're neglecting to see where the collaborations can be? Like, there might be, like, I don't know if does that make sense? It's like, where am I overlooking, Not me personally, but,
What a great question. Like untapped collaboration potential?
Yes, okay. Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. Thank you for articulating that.
Well, I mean, yes. And I think that might be really unique to the different types of experts and what they want to accomplish. Like if we go back to your compass and we say, what do I want to accomplish through collaboration? Let's say someone's at the point where they've got a book coming and they need to build the audience. So I was speaking to somebody not too long ago who literally got declined for a book deal because they didn't have the reach in their socials.
Yeah.
So let's say,
been going on for a long time. Yeah.
Right. And that's never changing. That's a tried and true. You want a traditional publisher to publish your work as a thought leader and expert. And even as a hybrid, you're going to have a better result if you go with a hybrid publisher, if you build up some social platform reach. And you might make that your compass. I need to build my reach. I need to build some momentum here. I need to be really owning my leadership voice, claiming the conversation and moving that out in the world. So you might prioritize building your social presence. If it's not on Substack, it could be on anything. Maybe it's on Instagram or LinkedIn or wherever you really think your audience is. I mean, I think everybody should be on Substack, but that's just me. I'm kind of
you're a convert.
Obsessing on Substack. I am. It works with my brain. It really does. And so I think here's the thing that you might focus on is who are the people who I could be doing collaborations with, right? Now, let's say somebody has I'm trying to think of like dormant opportunities. I had somebody who she was launching an AI-based tool, and she wanted to have some people help her promote it. And what was dormant was that she didn't really have a lot of partners in her community to reach out to. So I gave her the challenge and I said, I want you to go find your way to 10 communities, whether they're online, in person, whatever, of people that serve your audience, and build this up for 60 days. Don't like expect people to come out of the woodwork the moment you open it if you haven't been cultivating these connections for a while. Am I hitting the direction you wanted to go?
Yeah, untapped. Yeah. I don't have a specific, and I think strategy. I think that all of us have untapped potential in one way or another, right? And so I think, yes, you're definitely on the right track here. I didn't even know what my track was. I just
want to speak to the people. Well, I ran with it. So, but I think that let's speak to the people who may be doing conversations like this doesn't feel natural and aligned. If you're a writer, write and feature other people. One of my favorite collaborations that happened during the pandemic was there was a group of us that we used to go to events, live events. We were called Icons, and we would take pitches from people who wanted to be on our podcasts. Well, that kind of went away during the pandemic. And so several of the good writers, they wrote for magazines, they would write these collaborative articles featuring the different podcast hosts. So guess what happens when you do something like that? Now you've endeared yourself to some people who are like, oh, I just got featured. Hey, what can I do for you?
Yeah.
Untapped collaboration opportunity.
Yeah.
Find a way to be nice, give visibility, give some collaborative juju to somebody who you really like, and just spark the relationship. Yeah. Like Substack makes it so easy, Denise. Oh. Restack.
Yeah.
Restack some articles, restack this interview that Denise has hosted today. Give Denise a bunch of love. It's like these are simple ways to start getting on someone's radar and just move collaborative energy forward.
Yeah. You're right about Substack. I mean, it's built for collaboration. They make it like integral to everything that they're doing on the platform. So another plug for Substack. Yay, Substack.
Yes.
Yeah, because when I think about collaboration, I'm usually like, okay, who can I feature? That way I can ask the questions and I don't have to be the one, talking so much, although I kind of talked a lot today. But I love to feature people. I'll feature my clients. It's like, okay, what are you doing? Do you have a book? Do you have something new coming up? What are you doing? Let's go talk about it. Let me put you in front of my audience. So I think that's
a great untapped collaboration right there. It's like who's already in your network that you could give some exposure to that would really benefit from it, and acknowledging your clients is a great way to do that. I like to do I did a live stream series last summer on visibility and the surprising fears that hold experts back. And I featured a whole bunch of my clients and collaboration partners in it. And it was just kind of like a really interesting conversation that emerged. But that's another way like to tap into what's right in front of you and give value.
Yeah. Okay. Anything that I haven't asked that you want to make sure you get across?
I want to come back to something that I really think is the fuel inside your collaboration. And that is to really look at what are you known for? And as a potential collaboration partner, Does somebody go to your Substack, somebody go to your website, somebody go to your socials and get what you're known for? Because if it's not clear, oftentimes it's very easy for a potential collaboration partner to go, I don't get it, right? Or I don't see where the synergy is. And if we make people work too hard to figure it out, we've lost their attention, we've lost their interest. And by the way, this is the same for clients today. They need to quickly recognize what your area of expertise, what your leadership is.
Right.
And I think that that's an often misunderstood, overlooked component. I've had people who have invited me to collaborate and they were expecting some reciprocation. And I said, look, I don't know how to promote you because I don't know what you do. It's not clear. And, that those can be really humbling moments, but that's the place to start, my friend, is to really look at, can somebody go to whatever your page is and go, yeah, they're on fire. Mm-hmm. I get it. I see what they're doing. I know what they're known for. And that really can be an activator for great collaborations to emerge.
Yeah. So I know that you have a gift for people who, are watching this, and it'll be in the replay. And it sounds like that segues into what you just said, segues into that, at least in my head. And it's the 7-step framework to be an unignorable expert. Is there a bit of an audit that goes on in that framework?
Yeah. So what I did is I used to have people ask me all the time, so Melanie, you have pivoted your business multiple times. You grew it from nothing to multiple high 6 figures. What did you do and how can I recreate that? And this is the 7 steps that I take every client through, that I've personally used every time that I wanted to regrow my business or grow it again. And it takes you through many of the things we talked about today. And it has a little scorecard that goes with it. So you can evaluate, how well is this factor being expressed in my business right now? If a potential client was to stumble onto me, would this factor be really clear to them? Would it be clear to a collaboration partner? And it's just a great way to really kind of self-assess and to look at, like, all 7 of these things really need to be intact and optimized if you want to stand out and stop being a best kept secret.
Yeah. I agree. And, as someone who has also pivoted her business many times since 1996, sometimes you can get lost in the clarity part, and so I think it's good to take those steps back to just say, okay, is it clear what I do? Is it clear who I do it for? Is it clear in everything that I put out there? And is it aligned? You were talking about alignment before for collaboration, but it also content and, ideas and all that needs to be aligned. So, do you have that link?
And it needs to be monetized. We don't have to be visible if we can't monetize
there's that.
Right? And by the way, I guess we should share the link so you have it. If you go to melaniebenson.com/Denise W. You can download that.
I have it on a piece of paper. That doesn't click very well. And it will be in the notes too afterwards. But I think that sounds like a very valuable step to take in order to start moving forward on implementing your strategy, because clearly it works.
Yes. Yes, it does. And again, everything is intentionality. What we focus on expands. And look, right now you have a lot of choices on how to be seen. You're probably getting bombarded with lots of information. And, really choose a couple key things that light you up. Even if they're a little scary, it can be scary, but it can be right.
Yeah.
And I want you to be seen. And like I said, proximity is just one of the ways to open the doors faster, because when people know you, they're more likely to say yes, as you could see just with Denise and I today.
Yeah.
We know each other and we're like, let's do this. This is so fun.
Yes. When I saw Melanie in my feed on Substack, I went, whoa, wait a minute, she's here now. So that was great. And
thank you. That made my day.
I really appreciate you spending your time with me today and with people who have joined us today. And for the people who will join us, if you are not yet subscribed to Melanie's Substack, you need to do that too. I believe it's up in the corner. I don't see it from my perch here, but usually the people in the live stream are linked in the corner. So definitely, please subscribe to Melanie's Substack, and I'll be getting this out tomorrow. And I look forward to seeing more from you, Melanie. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. Thanks for hosting. And if you guys are not following Denise, definitely go and get on her subscribe list because she is such an amazing guide on this AI visibility journey. So thanks. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Can't wait to stay connected.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.